John, you want to kick us off?
How do we do that? I forget.
I think it's like
It's been a minute. So I am a casting director.
What's your name?
Oh, my name's John Williams. I'm a casting director.
Well, hi there.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Heather Kafka, and I'm an actor.
And today in the room, via
Zoom, we have Angeline Walsh. She is a writer and filmmaker from Cleveland, Ohio, where it's very cold right now. She's known for her unique storytelling style and passion for unusual histories. And she specializes in period pieces and has authored several works, including The Coroner's Assistant, Loathsome, and The Women of Swineford. Walsh's writing often features dark humor and explores unconventional themes, reflecting her fascination with the macabre and historical narratives. Her work on The Coroner's Assistant has garnered attention, including nominations at the Astra Awards, showcasing her talent for weaving engaging and distinctive tales. And that is absolutely true. I just watched it, and it is so cool. So, The Coroner's Assistant is set in Victorian England, and it was made entirely in the filmmaker's hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, which you will not believe. The series won Best Costumes by Amy Morgan, Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy, Jeremy Gladen, and the Spotlight Award at the 14th Annual Indie Series Awards earlier this year. The Coroner's Assistant will stream on Apple, Google, and Amazon on December 23rd, this past, and Tubi on January 25th. Now, The Coroner's Assistant is a dark comedy that follows the misadventures of James Rigby, played beautifully by Jeremy Gladen, right? No.
Cedric Gagel.
Cedric Gagel. A medical student who finds himself entangled in Victorian London's cadaver trade. The TV web series was led by an all-female creative team, including executive producer Georgie Lascu, who was instrumental in getting this project funded and produced. For very little money, by the way. The Coroner's Assistant was entirely shot in Cleveland, Ohio, and is the only independent and self-distributed series from YouTube to be nominated in the streaming category. I mean, there's just so much about this series that blew me away. I could not believe what I was watching. First of all, I couldn't believe that none of these people, well, I don't even want to spoil half of the things. I seriously thought, and I'm married to an Englishman from Manchester, England, and I seriously thought everybody in this was definitely English. I thought, okay, well, maybe you're pulling it off because it's just the one location and everything's shot very tight. I was like, maybe they're pulling it off in a place that's not England. But really, it's like, I don't, just start from the beginning. I don't know how you did all this.
Yeah, I just want to hear how, I mean, 7 years in the making?
Yeah, 7 years.
And then
from like the writing of the episodes to finishing post-production.
Okay, so maybe we should start from the beginning of like who you are, because when someone says that this took you 7 years to make and you started when you were like in your 20s, and now you're in your 30s? Yeah?
I'm turning 30 a week from today.
Okay, so you clearly love this project. You clearly love what you do. There's a dedication there that comes from somewhere. How did that start? Where did that come from? Who are you?
Well, The Coroner's Assistant itself, actually, it kind of like turned into its own thing accidentally. So in 2016, I made a short feature film called A Murder Party, which was sort of a parody of murder mysteries. And it stars Cedric Gagel, who is a Columbus-based actor, or was at the time. And or he played a character in the film called The Coroner's Assistant. The character didn't have a name. We ended up having to cut a lot of his scenes during the filming of that because we just had no time. And that really disappointed me because as we were filming it, I really liked Cedric as an actor. I really liked the way he interpreted that character. So I decided I was like, I'm going to make a short film with just his character. And I started writing the short film, and it turned into, it's like a show. As soon as I started writing it, I said, this is going to be more than just a short film. So it kind of started off as like a spin-off of my own character, and then it turned into its own thing completely.
And
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then had you ever directed and done all of this before?
So previous to The Coroner's Assistant, I had made 2 short feature films. They were each like about an hour long. In
Those
my
aren't
hometown in
those aren't
Cleveland.
shorts. Those aren't short. That's an hour's long.
Yeah, but they were like an awkward length. They were like not long enough to be considered a feature by some standards, and not but too long to be a short film. Um,
That's what's so cool
I guess
nowadays, right? Because you're not stuck
yeah.
to the sort of a old format of like it has to be 90 minutes.
Yeah, I've always been sort of a misfit in every way. It seems like like nothing I make ever really fits like a trajectory of what people expect. So, yeah, I had made 2 films, one in 2015 and one in 2016. And it was funny growing up I always kind of wanted to make my own TV show, and I wasn't like I didn't plan on making The Coroner's Assistant or making a TV show. It just sort of happened. But yeah, those were like the only 2 things that I ever directed. So,
But how were you doing all of that? Like, did you go to school for this, or like were you?
so I did. I ended up well, not when I made the film. So I when I made the 2 films that I had mentioned, and when I started making The Coroner's Assistant, I hadn't gone to film school yet. I actually was I did a 2-year film program at a school in Cleveland. But I didn't start it until I had already started pre-production for the first episode of The Coroner's Assistant. And I actually met Georgie on the set of a music video being shot at the school that I had just started the film program at, the summer that I was holding auditions for The Coroner's Assistant. So it kind of all happened all at the same time, but The Coroner's Assistant was made completely separate uh, from my film school experience. It wasn't made for a class. It wasn't made, you know, as part of anything. It was just something I did on my own.
So, why was the decision since you were just making it on your own? What was the decision to go to school?
Um, my parents really wanted me to go to school for the first thing. If it was up to me, I probably wouldn't have gone to college at all. But my parents really wanted me to go to school, and I put it off for years. And it was funny because when I finally decided, fine, I'll go, and sign up for a 2-year film program, that's when I met Georgie, who ended up being the producer, who ended up being the lead female actor in my show, and we became like best friends. So I guess the timing kind of worked out.
Did your parents, were they happy and supportive that you were going to film school, or were they like, that's not what we meant by go to school?
Well, they actually recommended that I go to that film program because
That's
we
awesome.
had a family friend who taught at that school, not in the film department, but they were like, "Yeah, this will be good for you," and it ended up being good because I was able to actually a lot of the people who helped out on set for season 1 were my fellow film students. It was a very like close-knit community. Um and I met a lot of people who had the same interests as me, and we all helped on each other's sets. And I actually recently just reconnected with one of the people who was um one of the boom operators on the set for Coroner's Assistant. He lives in LA now, and I invited him to the Astro Awards. So that was really cool because like we went to film school together in Cleveland, and we got to go to the awards ceremony together. So it all kind of worked out in the end.
So what gave you, like, were you always like as a kid, like I'm gonna make a film, or what gave you sort of like, you know what, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make a short. I'm gonna make another short. I'm gonna make a TV show. Where did that I don't know, chutzpah? What do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where'd you get the balls, girl?
I was always writing stories. As soon as I learned how to write, I was writing stories. And I was writing like little screenplays before I really knew what a screenplay was. I was always like writing movies, I would call them. And when I found out that making movies was a job, that's what I wanted to do. And um I was bored one day and I stole my dad's camcorder and I started making movies, like little videos of my own, and I completely fell in love with it. That was when I was around 12 years old. Um, but yeah, growing up, I was always writing. I wanted to be a novelist. That was like my dream job. So yeah,
And you have a couple books, right?
I do. Yeah. I have a poetry collection and then I have a young adult book. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's the scene like in Ohio as far as
I was going to ask that. You guys have a thriving film community there and whatnot. I know that like in Chicago, theaters is a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we do
But
have
you're
a
in
big,
Cleveland,
film
Ohio. I
community, and
forgot.
actually we
Yeah.
have a really big theater community as well, because Cleveland actually has the biggest, theater district in the US behind New York City. Like we have Playhouse Square, which has all the famous theaters. So, Georgie, my producer, actually went to CSU, Cleveland State University, for theater. That's what she studied. It's a very big theater town. And there's a lot of arts here. There's a lot of artists here. Um, and the film community is interesting. There's a lot of like I feel like it's a little cliquey, but I feel like you get that anywhere. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe people wouldn't assume it from if they don't know anything about Cleveland, but there's a lot of artists living here.
And you had your DP, like it was all female led, right? Your DP
Yes.
too?
Yeah. Yep. My director of photography was Dagna Griffin. She's incredible. She's also one of my best friends that I met through this project. And she's originally from Poland. And she is one of the most passionate people I know. She's incredibly talented. She has her own videography business. She travels internationally to film things. So yeah, she's very good at what she
Love
does.
that. It just still sticks to the thing. Like
the formula.
The
Yeah.
formula is like the DP is always like Scandinavian. So it's even it seems like
Yeah.
even when it's a woman,
funny.
it's like
We used to joke because all the people making the leadership decisions
Yeah.
on set were women, but our cast is mostly men. So
That's
it was like
funny.
a total
reversal.
role reversal.
Yeah. But the DP is always like German or like so
Yeah.
it's always the DP is always a foreigner. I swear.
So,
It's like something
That's
about the
funny.
camera over there in other countries.
so I'm interested to get into it and be like, understand how you pulled this off for 10K and how many episodes did you guys do for 10K?
So there's 4 episodes. I had originally written 5, but actually when we were editing, we decided to combine 2 of the episodes because they were like sort of a weird short length. And so we just combined them in the editing process. So technically we filmed for 5, but there are 4 episodes.
I mean, how did you
That's
guys?
not the total number. That's per episode, right?
Is that 10 per episode or total 10 to 10 total?
No, total like all together.
I see. You see?
With
This
like a
is not-
shoestring
not-
budget.
No.
I mean, that house.
Convince me.
That house was amazing. Like the interior of that house was incredible.
Beautiful house.
And it was full of stuff. Like was that just
So
something
actually the stuff was ours. So it's funny because that house, that room was completely empty basically. The only thing that was in that room was the books and the bookshelf, but everything else we brought in. So we brought in the chairs, we brought in the clock, we brought in all the props, the coat rack, the wall decorations. Everything else was ours.
The gun from 1800s, whatever.
That was everything. All the props were completely ours.
How?
The coat rack actually Georgie found somewhere else in the house and just brought
should
it
be
into the room.
10,000.
Yeah.
Like all the like setting up, it took like a long time to set everything up. And we actually filmed episode one.
Wait, hold on. You're talking to like long in the tooth film people over here. We know how much shit costs.
Yeah.
Did you rob someone?
First,
this is a period piece.
How did you
ladies
get
and
the
gentlemen.
location, an empty room, and for that?
Mhm.
I mean, okay. First,
The location, maybe they knew someone and borrowed a guy, but the props, like
some of the stuff, like I think people don't realize about Cleveland is like, unlike a place like LA, everyone's filming something, everyone's working on something. But if you're in a place like Cleveland, you're like, you contact a place and you say, hey, I'm a filmmaker. I'm interested in renting this place as a filmmaker. People go crazy. They think it's the coolest thing ever.
Sure.
So they kind of like a lot of times will accommodate you really well because they're really into what you're doing. For the particular location we had for all of our study, I had found it through a pamphlet of historical homes in Northeast Ohio. And I was doing location scouting, and I had been to several other houses, toured them. I'm like, this isn't going to work. When I toured that specific one, which is in Elyria, which is super weird because I went to school in Elyria. It's not really the nicest city. This house is like in this really weird, nice, historic pocket of a neighborhood. And like down the street, not a good place, but like this specific area is like the most beautiful place. You would not think it's in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. And when I toured that house, which is, it used to be owned by like an automobile tycoon, Teddy Roosevelt visited it one time. Um, when I visited that house and I walked into that room, I was like, this is exactly what I was picturing when I wrote the script. Like it looked like this. And so the person
Was it vacant
who
at the
gave me,
time?
was it vacant?
Yeah.
It's just like a
Yes.
historical
Okay,
building that you
okay.
can like go tour
Yeah,
it or
it's
whatever.
a house museum. So they'll have like historical reenactments. They have like
Yeah.
fundraising events and stuff, but they don't, no one lives there.
Yeah,
It's
like
not
an
a
event
private
space.
residence.
Yeah. Got it.
So the person who gave us the tour, like she managed to convince the board of directors to let us rent out the place, and she managed to get us a discount because she knew that we were working on a really strict budget. So it was, a lot of negotiation and a lot of good luck and good timing. That
How many
Yeah.
days were you there for that location? Was that just one or?
No, like total, I think we were there 4 days.
Okay.
We did well, more like 3.5 because we did a half day for the first episode. We filmed that first episode before we filmed the rest, so we kind of split it up. And then we did 3 consecutive days for the other episodes. And then the exterior of the house is a different location, so that was a separate historic
Right.
home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, you just knew a lot of taxidermy and gun collectors.
Like seriously.
So I actually I collect a lot of antiques. So
Sure.
a lot of the props were just stuff that I had owned, that I had collected.
Yeah.
Like the alligator head was something that I just had. I bought it in South Carolina
Okay,
on
Angeline.
vacation.
Whew.
So stuff like that, like, and then other stuff, I had gone to flea markets and other places where they sold like weird antiques and just like, so that's where I got a lot of the old like medical bottles and stuff.
Yeah.
Is
I mean,
going to
the medical stuff, like the posters and all that, the books. I mean,
Mhm.
that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like you nailed
Yeah.
that vibe for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
The costumes though, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
costumes are really great. Amy Morgan
How?
did them. She is
How?
so so Amy Morgan, incredible. She is she is in Canton based, in the Akron Canton area of Ohio, and she this was the first film project she ever did. She had worked in theater, and she had grown up always wanting to be in design, and she has a love for historic costume design and clothing design, and she collects. She's crazy. She has like thousands and thousands of antique like dress patterns and everything. So like everything she makes is like legitimately from
How'd you find her?
she actually found me. I had put out an advertisement in a performing arts digital newsletter saying that I was actually originally just looking for a Victorian policeman's costume for the scene in the inquest. And she emailed me and she said, I have one. And she sent me pictures and she's like, will this work? And she sent me a picture of the full uniform and the belt and the hat. And I was like, yes, this is perfect. And then she said, do you have a costume designer? And I said, no. And she said, I'll be your costume designer as long as you give me credit.
Oh.
And I was like, sure. So, she went the full 9 yards. She got everyone's measurements. She went through the process of like going outside and staining clothing to make it look used and like, all this stuff. She really puts a lot of detail into
That's
it.
probably like the hardest, one of the most expensive parts of a period piece just jumped in her lap for free.
I know.
Yeah, it was, I mean,
Incredible.
Amy's an incredible person. She's an incredible artist. Like I cannot express the gratitude
Yeah.
that I have for her.
Yeah, it gave it so much production value, and I mean, it felt like I was watching something on the BBC or something.
Right? That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
means
I
so
was
much
like,
to me.
it's like Midsummer
People say
Murders,
that.
which
I'm like,
costs
oh.
like seriously. I was like, my mom and my grandma would love this show because they love Midsummer Murders, and this is that
Yeah.
level of production value. There's no way that this was made for $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it really had that feel of a show on BBC that you watched.
Totally.
Yeah. So let's talk about the casting. How'd that go?
It was an interesting process because I had originally cast the main characters, and then I ended up having to recast them
Whoa.
because they were so
Let's get
so
into
except
that.
for James, who was played by Cedric, was always going to be played by Cedric. The original Oliver had to recast him. The original Thomas had to recast him. I had to recast the original person I cast for Roberta, due to just random things happening in actors' lives where they couldn't commit anymore.
It's so
And I
it's
had
so
a
hard when you're not
you know
paying a lot of money and it's like something
Yeah,
comes, they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do a Jack in Box commercial."
yeah. So it's not like I picked second choices. That's not what happened. I
Right.
had to, actually go through the casting process again. And,
One, I can't imagine
but it all worked out.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine anyone else in those parts because they were like cast perfectly.
Mhm.
What was your
Yeah.
casting process?
So I had put out some advertisements on the performing arts digital newsletter that I met Amy
I gotta
through.
get a subscription to this
And
digital newsletter.
Yeah, right?
yeah.
This is
And
like
I just various
jackpot.
Facebook groups and everything like that.
Did you do tapes or
Yeah.
like physical auditions?
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I did physical. I did both. I did I think 2 days, 2 days of in-person auditions.
Good for you.
And then I accepted videotapes. So, but I mean, I always prefer in-person auditions, but I just want to give people
And so
options. Yeah.
so what
Yeah.
what all hats did you wear? Like
Oh,
casting,
geez.
yeah.
Yeah, so casting director, art director, set designer, set decorator, producer, sometimes caterer,
Writer.
pretty yeah, yeah. Yeah, all this set it was funny because we actually won, production design at a film festival, and we didn't have a production designer. It was basically just me and Georgie, taking all the weird props that we collected and
Mhm.
and decorating everything. And a lot of the places that we filmed, were actually so atmospheric that we really needed, just
Mhm.
minimal decoration, but yeah.
But production design, I feel like, is a worthy award for them.
Yeah,
Like
I would think so for sure.
like, it was incredible.
Yeah, there wasn't a space that was really felt like off or missing.
No.
Yeah, like the was it the inquest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, where was
Mhm.
that?
That was at, a place called the Bronson Church. It's in Peninsula, Ohio. It's actually where the Cuyahoga Valley National Park is. It's like this cute little town, um, and, it was just a one-room, um, historic church site. I don't think it's an active church anymore. It's just a historical site. And, I remember going to Peninsula, a year before I filmed The Coroner's Assistant, and I saw that building, and I was like, "That's interesting. I wonder what it looks like inside." And I looked at pictures of it inside, and I'm like, "Ooh, that would be an interesting place to film something." And so when I was location scouting, I reached out to them and I said, "Can we scout this out?" And I went with Georgie and Dagna, and we looked at the room, and we took measurements, and we decided that was gonna be our place, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, nothing felt off. In fact, it just kept getting, better and better. I mean, I was like, "Okay, one location, 2 amazing actors, lots of close-ups. Sure, we can pull it off." And then you went to that place, and I was like, "Whoa, church pews, more wood, more actors, more costumes." I was
Daylight,
like, "How is
yeah.
she doing this?" Yeah.
Yeah,
So
what did you guys shoot on?
Oh, geez, you're gonna have to ask I would I was gonna say you're gonna have to ask Dagna. I know it's a Sony. I don't know the exact model, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not very good with technical specificities when
Neither
it
is
comes to
John, so
cameras
don't.
and
It's
lenses.
fine.
Yeah, I mean,
You could say the
My brain is
JXL
kinda like, "It's
2000, and
not
he'd
your
be like,
job,
"Oh
so don't
yeah,
worry about it."
yeah." I mean, he doesn't know.
I know a little.
But yeah, I know it was a Sony for sure, but, I don't know the exact model.
No, that's why you hire DP.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
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 And it sounds like a darn good one.
How big of a production was it? Like, how many of you guys?
We kept it small, and honestly, fingers crossed making season 2, I would like to keep a very tight-knit crew. I really think I've been on other sets, and I think there's definitely a problem when there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I really like when it's, everyone can talk face to face, communicate about what we're doing. Me and Georgie and Dagna are all very hands-on, and I think it worked really, really well. Yeah.
You're a smart woman. Hold on to that. I'm serious.
Thank you.
Stand your ground. Hold on to that. Don't let anyone shake you from that position. That's
Yeah.
really good. That's good.
And honestly, I don't think a lot of films need as big as crews as they have
No, they
sometimes,
do
especially
not.
on an indie set or a lower budget set. You really, don't need like 20 people. If you
Mhm.
have a group of like 5 or 6
Mhm.
people, it's solid. It's gonna be
Yeah, there's a
solid.
lot that's just industry standard that people follow because that's what the person did before. So I think there's a lot of room, especially in the indie world, to
Yeah.
Yeah.
change it.
I mean, my big thing was like, none of like no aspect of making this show was typical. So for me, it was like, well, why not do something that's not industry standard? Because like no one is gatekeeping us, no one is saying we can't, and we already did this in like the most unusual way possible. Might as well
Mhm.
continue it. So.
Mhm.
So going into season 2, what do you feel like you've learned that you'll do differently?
Oh, geez. I mean, I making this project it made me a better director, it made me a better artist, it made me a better collaborator. Um, there's so many I mean, even when editing, I was going over all the ways I would have directed that scene better or, you know, done things better. But you don't know until it's already over. Um, but I mean, I just like to challenge myself to continue improving upon my craft always. Be a better leader, better
We
at showing up for people, better at listening,
yeah.
better at, knowing what I want and yeah, it's a constant improvement, you
And
know.
will you have it all written before you go into production?
Yeah, I mean, I have 10 episodes written for season 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're in a process of a rewrite right now, but there are 10 episodes. Yeah.
And will you be fully funded before, or will you guys
I hope so.
will you have to
I
be
mean,
like
yeah, I hope so. I mean, we have 0 funding right now, so,
Mhm.
but I mean, that would be my goal is,
I mean, I would think too with the season out and being able to point people to it and start building an audience, like you could
Mhm,
probably do a GoFundMe and then yeah, I want to talk too about the distribution process, like how you got
mhm.
these deals and if you think that like I don't know, are any of these streamers like would they foot the bill or which would
I
change the
mean,
dynamic completely
in
probably.
my dreams, if it's successful enough on Tubi or if it like, trends on Tubi, it might catch the attention of someone at Tubi. But that's like, a pipe dream if it goes viral, so to speak. Which I don't, at this point, anything could happen. I have no idea. I'm really bad at like predicting trends. I'm not a trendsetter or a trend follower, I mean.
Mhm.
So, who knows? But yeah, I mean, it'd be great if someone else could foot the bill. It's
I
always,
mean, yes
hope.
and no, right? It's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword that we find when we talk to people because when people start getting to that point, then there's a lot of the cooks in the kitchen telling you
Yeah.
Yeah.
what needs to be done. So there is a
Mhm,
sweet spot, I think, to be able to like you said, go against industry standard if you are
mhm.
independent. It's just how do you get the money to do it?
Yeah, the money is the hardest part.
Mhm.
My least favorite part of filmmaking is always pre-production, development and pre-production, because everything's so up in the air. It's like I think once you have, a little bit of funding even, I feel like then you can gain the confidence to, like, build the momentum. But I think before then, it's sort of there's a lot of uncertainty, and my brain doesn't like that. So it can be kind of scary.
Yeah. Is she able to get grants and stuff like
Maybe,
that?
yeah.
Like,
I spent all last year trying to get grant money and I got rejected from every
all
single
of
one.
them?
Every single one. It's actually
Wow.
funny because I am in my day job, I'm a grant writer.
What?
Yeah. So I'm a grant writer for a nonprofit for my day job. So
That's
I
unfortunately hysterical. Like,
so I went
hello?
into it like literally January last year. And all last year I was doing research on arts funding grants and film grants. And I applied to about
Stop it.
12. And I got rejected from every single one.
Be so
So,
serious. What in the
yeah,
world?
so interesting coincidence.
You seem so worthy of a grant, and then you're a grant
I mean,
writer.
everything's so
What? This
subjective,
are we in the
you never
upside down?
know, like
None of this makes sense to me anymore. The world is weird. What?
yeah. And it's awkward because they don't give you a reason, they don't say, like,
Wouldn't it be
"Here's why
funny
we
if
didn't
the
get it."
reason
They
was
just
like, "You're
say
not a good grant writer"?
yeah. Yeah.
Do they tell you no though, right? They give you at least that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I even applied to one that's, like, specifically for Ohioans in the arts,
Yeah.
and I didn't get
Well, I
so
would think maybe with the success of this one and the proof of concept that, it might be a
Maybe
little
going
bit,
back in now?
yeah, it'd be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And being a woman and, like, all these things, none of that?
Oh, well,
No
a
love?
big obstacle for us is, like, obviously, I'm a woman and there are women in leadership, but there's very few female roles in the series, so I think that kind of, like I think a lot of the grants go to, like, female
driven,
leads,
yeah.
like, films that
Female
have, like,
projects?
female stars, not necessarily female above the line or below the line
Oh,
crew, which is really
brother.
unfortunate.
It's we
But
can't get a break. It's like
Yeah,
now
I
there's
mean,
no
yeah.
women in front of the camera. We're all behind the camera. And so now they're
Yeah.
not hello.
we've had the opposite
Yeah.
where we had all females on, but then behind the scenes
Yeah.
was more males, and they were like, "We need."
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
never get it right.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
And so I watched the first episode on YouTube. Are you going to release the other 3 on YouTube or?
So they were originally all of them were on YouTube, but I decided to just keep episode 1 on to drive more traffic to
Tubi.
Tubi.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we can watch it on
Yeah.
Tubi, and that's it. Just Tubi for now.
Well, Tubi for free, and then on Amazon, Apple, and Google,
If you have
you have to
subscriptions.
buy each individual episode,
Oh,
or you
okay.
can buy like a package of all the
Oh, okay.
the
Gotcha.
entire first season. But if you want to watch it all for free, on Tubi, yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. So can we just talk for a second about Cedric?
Okay.
Who the hell are you? Where did he come from? He's amazing.
He is. He's an incredible actor. I'm like really hoping for a big break for him this year.
You and me
He's
both.
constantly doing. He is crazy. He's constantly doing projects. Like I swear, he's always filming. Like he's always jumping between like 5 different sets and then like doing theater work on the side.
He's
I don't know how he
delightful.
sleeps. um, but yeah, I mean, he's incredibly talented. Easily one of the best people to work with. So like dedicated to his art, respectful
Yes.
of me as a director. I mean, like, I can't say enough good things about him. Good person.
Yes, I can
So,
tell.
yeah.
Let me
Mhm.
just say, like, I'm just like not paying attention, or I don't know what, but I'm married to an Englishman from Manchester United. Manchester United, this football team. He's from Manchester, England. Oh my God, I've been working a lot. I'm tired, girl. And I watched the episode first, and I couldn't tell you that he was not plucked right out of England.
Yeah, he does his very good accent.
He just seems like an English person as well.
Mhm.
Like, just all around. Like, I can usually tell when there's an actor doing a really good English accent. He seems like an English human being all around.
Interesting.
And then when I saw him speaking on stage in the interview of when you had your acceptance speeches,
Yeah.
I was just floored. And then his speech was so lovely. And I was reminded that, honestly, for me, I just grew up in the theater, and it was reminding me of what all of that was like. And I've, like, me personally, have strayed so far from that because after years and years of being just a big dramatic kid in the theater and all the
Mhm.
feels and all the love of that community. And then you switch to film and television and you're honing that craft, and
Mhm.
then you're in that industry, and then it's just like so cutthroat, and you're trying so
Oh, yeah.
hard to get in it and work in it, and then your heart's just been broken so many times. And now I'm just like on the outs of it, and to such an extent that I don't even really like let my heart feel that way anymore. And I could see that he was just still so alive with all that love and
Mhm.
feeling, and it just brought me
Yeah.
back to all that. And it reminded me that really what we all want to do
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
feel that like
Mhm.
love and community and camaraderie and
Yeah.
humanity and tell those stories. And it's these little independent voices from the beginning. When that woman came to you and said, I'll be your costume designer, it's like finding that person who is still
Mhm.
not broken and jaded and all. It's they're still like have that gusto in them of just the
Yeah.
love of creating hasn't been beaten out of them yet, you know? And it's like finding that spirit still preserved. That's the best place to be if you can still
Yeah.
preserve that and still be able to express that. And anywhere we can find those people and those communities and those films and those little series and those little whatevers that are out there, just like Little Engine That Could, if we can push them up the hill, it's like
Yeah.
those are the ones we want to be talking about. Because to have discovered your series being out there, I was just like, oh, we got to get this one out there now because
Yeah.
these are fantastic. These feel so human and real and wonderful. You guys are making wonderful stuff. People would enjoy the crap out of this show, you know? And there's
Yeah.
real humans behind it, and we should be supporting that. And
Yeah. It was, this show, obviously I've been working on it going on 8 years now. And, I've, been writing stories my whole life and pursuing this as a career for 10 years now. And, the coroner's assistant, like, I knew that there was something unique about it, and I like, it's weird to describe. Like, I knew there was something about this series specifically that was gonna change my life, and it has. Um, Out of everything that I've written or thought up or tried to make, there was just always something about this that I kept on coming back to, and it was why I didn't wanna give up on it,
mm,
um, because there's so many times I could have just shelved it and not finished. I mean, we almost didn't make it. It was in, post-production hell, like, we almost didn't make it out. Like,
mhm.
that's how bad it was.
Why not?
Um,
Why not?
well, we
How did you do post-production with $10,000? I mean,
yeah, I mean, that was most of our budget went to editing,
it's gotta be.
you know?
And sound and
Um,
color correction? I mean, how did you do all
and,
that?
well, I'll get to our editor in a second because he's also just such an incredible person. But, editing, we had found an editor who ended up editing the first 2 episodes. But he was supposed to edit the whole thing, but he got caught up with a new job and he had a kid and it was like this whole thing. But we had hired him literally 5 days before the world shut down in
Mm,
2020. And, so we spent like I mean, it was crazy trying to, like, get the editing process off the ground with, like, everything was so uncertain, and he didn't know if he had a job, and, it was all this stuff, and beginning of 2022, I had it in my mind, I'm like, "Okay, we this is the year, we've been trying to get this edited for 2 years." There was a whole thing with, like, someone that we had hired to help our editor who ended up stealing money from us, and it was this whole thing. It was a disaster, and I told Georgie, because she was producer, I was like, "This year, we are gonna finish editing, and we're gonna have a premiere. It's going to be done this year." And she was like, "It's not ready, like, we're not gonna be able to do it." And I'm like, "No, it's going to be this year that we're gonna do it." And so she has a friend named Adam who also went to the same film school that we did, or the same program, and he's an editor, and she said, "I will call him and see if he can finish editing the show, the last 2 episodes," which are the most difficult episodes.
mhm,
Um, and she was like, "He's really busy, and he might not be able to do it." And he agreed to do it because he was really interested in the show, and it ended up being the best decision that we ever made. I mean, he is just incredibly talented. he decided to do color grading, audio mastering, like everything for us, because he literally called me one day and he said, "This is one of my favorite shows now."
Aw.
And this is, like, in the process of working on it. He had been working on it for, like, 3 months, and he said, "I'm being dead serious." He's like, "This is one of my favorite shows, and I'm doing this because I love this so much." And he's a person where you can tell that he's being genuine.
Mm.
Like, he has, like, 2 loves, and it's, like, Twin Peaks and The Coroner's Assistant.
Oh, that's amazing.
Um, um, so, yeah, so I'm you know, it's
Shout
another
out
reason I wanna
R.I.P.
make
David Lynch.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah, no, I know. It's bad start to bad start to 2025.
Bad start.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's another reason I wanna get season 2 off the ground is, like, give him more
Yeah.
work because he loves this show, and
Oh,
he
that's great.
he he was like, "I wanna be on set, I wanna start, like I wanna do, like, data wrangling on set, I wanna start editing things on set," like, he is ready to go, so, um,
I just felt
yeah.
inspired. I don't know, I felt like a little kid watching it. Like, I was a little kid again being told a really good story. Like, I don't know. I just loved watching Cedric. His character is so charming and lovable, and you really wanna see what's going on with him, what's happening to him, and you wanna follow him
Absolutely.
around. It's like, it's like Sherlock Holmes, how much you loved Sherlock Holmes and you wanted to be with him all the time. I just got that feeling from it, you know?
What was the on set? Did these guys show up with like fully developed, or did you guys do rehearsals or?
We did not have the time or the means to do rehearsals, because everyone lived all over the place, and I was in school and working a part-time job, and Georgie was working, night shifts, and Dagna had her business, and, everyone was kinda doing their own thing. So we would like, the Cedric and Jeremy and, like, everyone, they met on set. And so,
Are they all
and,
theater actors? Do they all come from the theater?
um, I think all of them did start in theater. Yeah. I'm not completely certain, but, yeah, I think actually, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I told everyone from the start too that I love improvisation, and I always tell, my talent that if you are trying something and you're trying to say something that I wrote and it's not flowing right, just say something that sounds similar, make it your own, like, take it into your own. I don't mind. I like it when people do that. So, I think it kind of eased things a little bit,
Hmm.
and, I mean, the chemistry between all the cast members just worked out so well.
Yeah, I'll say.
Did you have them in like paired up in the rooms together when you auditioned, or did you do any like
No,
chemistry tests? Yeah,
no one knew each other. Because I had to recast, um, for example, I had to recast Thomas and I had to recast Oliver, so,
all at probably different
even if I
points,
had
right?
originally cast, like, they wouldn't have met in the same place.
That's insane. I mean, this felt like a play that you
Yeah.
guys had been rehearsing and on tour, and the chemistry between all of them just felt so well rehearsed and synced. And do you know what I mean? Like it.
I think it helps that, like, I think all of us have similar personalities and, similar approaches to things, like, um I'm very much someone who encourage like, on my set, I'm like, "I wanna play as hard as I work." And, for me, like, if I'm on a set and I'm not having fun, then it's completely pointless for me.
Mm,
So, we would get a little bit silly to the point where, like, think Georgie would have to scream, "The train is off the tracks."
no more
We would
shots. Everybody, put down
rein
the
it
tequila.
a bit.
No.
Um, but, like, especially, like, by the time we had finished, the last episode, and we actually filmed the final scene of episode 4 last, even though we didn't film any of it chronologically. By the time we filmed that scene, I feel like we gotten into a groove, and, a lot of that was improvised, a lot of that was just us kinda being silly, um,
No
and,
spoilers. We haven't
rolled
seen
with
it.
it. Yeah,
No
it worked
spoilers.
really well.
We haven't seen it.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so who is your influence, or who is your influence? Do you have a love for this genre, or speaking of Lynch or any other, like where do you get your inspiration from?
So I get my inspiration from all over. Um one of my biggest inspirations for this show actually was not a filmmaker at all. It was Oscar Wilde, who was, like, one of my heroes. Um, and probably Tim Burton too. I was really inspired by, specifically Sweeney Todd, when writing the series, but I think a main like, the energy of it, I read a lot of Oscar Wilde, and, I think that really influenced a lot of the
I
Corners
think that's a
assistant.
perfect mix of like
Mm.
the description of it,
Yeah.
like Oscar Wilde and Tim Burton.
Yeah.
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 Well, and then your Thomas is also like, what's his name from Rocky Horror Picture Show? It reminds me of him anyway. Do you know who I mean?
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that comparison before. It's so interesting. I
No?
always hear, different people say different things, and
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
I hadn't thought of it before, but now I kinda see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely feels sort of Rocky Horror Picture-esque to me in a way
Well, yeah,
that Oliver is and
I hope
Thomas
I mean,
is.
it's a little campy on purpose, so, yeah,
But
I'm glad to
those
hear that.
BBC shows are kind of like that. They kind of have
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That what makes them such fun stories
Yeah.
to get lost in and
Yep.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then who doesn't love a good, like, murder whodunit kind of vibe, you know?
Mhm.
Murder that's playful.
So how's the response been so far since it's been out? We got out on the 23rd.
Yeah, it was on, the video on demand. I honestly haven't I actually don't know what the stats are with that yet. The aggregator that I work through to get it on streaming platforms, like, they were closed for the holidays and then the fires happened, and they're based in LA, so, like, I don't I actually
So
don't
when
haven't
explain
asked about it
explain
since
aggregator
it's
and
come out.
as a aggregator and what that is and how you got it out or how you got to that point or that deal.
So I had spent a while trying to reach out to indie distributors. Most of them didn't get back to me. A few of them gave me rejections.
Shocking.
Yeah.
One of them one of them actually was really interested in working with us, but they wanted us to combine everything and turn it into a feature film, which I debated doing, but I'm like, I wrote it as a series and I filmed it as a series and I want to make a season 2. In my head, it's a series. And it didn't feel right to me to just, I could have just put all the episodes together and had it, just be one film, but for some reason that didn't sit right with me.
I mean, I think you're like on the
So,
cutting edge because like they don't know what to do with stuff like this,
Yeah.
right? They don't know how to handle it
Yeah.
because there isn't any
no,
clear
they don't.
defined pathway for it, right? Like
Yeah.
YouTube
Mhm.
TV came out with where you guys can do your own episodics, which is cool. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think you're on the forefront of where we're going,
Yeah.
which is independent creating really good content that finds its audience and doesn't take these like sort of normal channels.
Yeah. I agree
Yeah.
with that. And then I also think that
So
like shorter form content is kind of the wave of the future to some extent too.
yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
not necessarily a big beastly 2-hour movie, but
Yeah, I've actually noticed that movies, a lot of the big movies that have come out in the past 2 years have been very, very long.
yeah.
So what
Um,
they're doing in the East is they're doing these minute episodes, high production, and they get you with
Yeah.
a hook on every one. So you subscribe and you just start getting addicted to watching them. So they've taken
Yeah.
like sort of the algorithm scrolling thing and made it
Mhm.
into like minute episodics, which is interesting for people
Yeah.
like us that can like have the resources and we don't need anybody to do stuff like that.
Mhm.
Did you have to sign a deal or did you just like, was it with the,
Um,
explain what an aggregator is too to folks.
so I don't know if I'm gonna be explaining it quite correctly, but for me, in my view, an aggregator is like kind of like a middleman. I own all the rights to the show and the characters. Like, I did not sign away anything. So their job was to put out. They were an Apple preferred partner, so it was for sure going on Apple, and Amazon Prime, and they pitched it to Tubi and I think it's not called Fandango. It used to be called something else. Um, but the Fandango one rejected us. Tubi accepted us. Tubi, you can't just approach, you have to have someone pitch it for you. So that was a big deal for us because that was something that was not guaranteed, that was going to be solely based on whether they liked the show or not. So that was a big deal for us. So yeah, that was how we got it on the different platforms, and it was crazy, looking up on the December 23rd and seeing the show on, on Apple TV Plus and Amazon.
And so
It was very weird.
if it does well, then you get a return on that as far as like if it,
Yeah.
yep.
Mhm.
And then the
Yeah.
aggregator would take a commission of that. And so,
No.
no,
No, I paid them in advance, so,
that's great.
whatever,
Yeah.
they already got paid, for all their work, they did all the closed captioning, they did all
See,
the,
like, I mean, if you keep it
you know
low, like that and you budget for an aggregator, like
Mhm.
there's no one to stand in your way.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it
I'm almost
reasonable?
kind of glad that I didn't get a traditional distributor because I didn't have to sign anything saying that they owned the show's rights for 5 years or whatever. I
And
can
then
do whatever I want with the
future
show.
seasons and all that kind of stuff. So it's like,
So an aggregator is
Mhm.
reasonable?
is it a reasonable cost for an aggregator or?
Yeah, I mean, I did my research. It was within, a normal range. I mean, you're going to be I mean, you would be spending money on marketing or whatever
Yeah.
anyway. So it all depends on what you're prioritizing. I knew that if I didn't go through an aggregator, there's no way it was gonna go on
Yeah.
other platforms
Yeah.
because there was no way a traditional distributor was gonna take
No,
our show.
I mean,
So it was
they don't
either
know
Yeah.
how
have
to handle this stuff at all. Like,
So she gets it on the platforms, she still owns it, and then
it-
she
Mhm.
makes a little profit off it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, if people watch it. Yeah.
yeah. Is there a plan for the marketing and stuff or?
No, I mean, right now we don't have budget for,
Yeah.
anything.
So that would be up to you too right now. That would be just like you getting on your socials, you telling your
Mhm.
friends, get out and watch
Yeah,
it. You
yeah,
you
exactly.
You
Yeah.
getting on
okay.
podcasts to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hey.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
This seems doable,
Yeah, we can do this.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio sounds like what Austin used to be, where
It
it's like,
does.
yeah, where you could just like here we used to be able to just be like, can we use your house? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, sure.
Go
Yeah.
shoot in the Elizabeth
Yeah.
Ney Museum for $50,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Are you guys getting bigger films or productions there? Or?
I know this past summer we had that new Superman film that was downtown. I think that was the most recent big budget. We've had a couple of, mid-budget films too,
We did
this past
outside
year.
Cincinnati. We did Nutcrackers. We just did that
Oh, you
one.
did?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where you
yeah.
were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cincinnati's pretty big too with film. They have
Yeah.
a big film community there.
It was
Yeah.
a really cool city, and everybody was super. It was like casting wise, you really get a vibe for the support that people have for film because I'm walking around talking to people if they want to be in a movie or not.
Yeah.
Doing like real
Yeah.
people stuff, and everybody was really nice and really open and supportive.
Everybody's like, cool,
Yeah.
this sounds like fun.
Yeah.
As opposed to like,
Los
fuck off,
Angeles,
leave me
yeah,
alone.
Los Angeles, they're like,
Yeah, fuck off.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do this here
Um,
all the time, every day, bud. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, Cleveland was definitely it worked out really well for, the coroner's assistant too because we're sort of like a post-industrial wasteland in a lot of ways. So, there's a lot of, old buildings that look like they haven't been, refurbished in
Yeah.
150 years. There's a lot of, urban sprawl. So it worked out with, a lot of the exteriors and the atmosphere because it kinda looked like and we're always overcast too, so it's,
yeah,
kinda like London.
every
Yeah.
day's perfect day for filming.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon as far as when you think you're going to be able to start season 2?
What do
I
you need? What's your
would l
budget? What do you need?
would
We'll get it for
I
you.
would you said, "What's my budget?"
Yeah, name it. Name it. Put it out there. We'll get it.
Well,
What do you wish
I always
for?
tell people my ideal budget
2
would be,
million.
$1,000,000, which is crazy for
Make
me.
it 2.
But
Make it 2.
my ideal budget would actually be $2,000,000.
Angeline needs
Um,
2 million for season 2.
um,
You see,
what
but
I
that's
Bring
tell
it.
people
Bring
that,
it.
what I
That's
can work with is,
nothing.
no, that brings so much responsibility on you and so much pressure. Like you lose that sense if you're not used to handling that much money. It's just too
Yeah.
much pressure. Like if you can keep doing it by yourself and for like I feel like you could get a good amount with like crowdfunding and keep getting people
Yes.
excited about it. And
Yeah,
like
I
Maybe she could crowdfund 2 mil.
yeah. I mean, how complex is the second season? Did you write it
it's
to
a
where?
lot there's a lot more, way bigger
Purchases.
cast. for example.
You got horse
Way
and
bigger
carriage
cast.
chases?
I mean, locations,
She's
there are
like,
a couple more extravagant locations, but I think the main focus would be, like, there's just a lot more talent to work with.
okay, so
Um,
no horse and carriage
in
chases.
No. I actually did hire, a horse and carriage for a murder party, which is that short feature I did with where I met Cedric.
And
We
you
hired
learned
them for
don't do that
an hour.
again.
It wasn't bad. It was like this guy, I don't even remember where I found him, but it was like an old, like, hearse buggy, and he had his horse, and he dressed in, like, Victorian clothing, and, yeah, we had him hired for, like, an hour.
And that
It
was
looks
just what
cool.
he did on a Saturday night? That was just or
Yeah.
you had him do that, or that's just who he was?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
At that time, my life is such a blur. I don't remember like what his business was. He could have been anybody.
That's
And he
amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's
And you stayed out of the unions and stuff like that? You didn't have to deal with any of that, or?
No, I don't think any of my actors were union at the time because they were so small.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the future, I would love to work with some bigger name actors. Obviously, you're gonna have to go through unions with that. And I'll cross that bridge when I get to it because I don't know how to, I'm not in a union myself. I don't even qualify for the Writers Guild even, or can afford to be in it. Like, that's how low on the totem pole I am. So, but in the future, yeah, I'll have to work with unions. But the first season, none of that. Yeah, it was all just a bunch of misfits in a room
Misfits,
together.
women, and Cedric. Stick with Cedric. He's a great addition to the acting landscape. I think you should put him in all of your stuff. He's delightful, and you guys seem to work well together. I think you get great performances out of him. So you guys ride that wave together. Take each other along for the ride.
Yeah.
He's a great little leading man. I don't mean little, but I mean I don't mean little, Cedric. I don't mean little.
That's about an hour.
It's about an hour.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention?
Goodness.
Or anything else you want to talk about or mention? Shout outs to anybody? No? Good?
Just we need funding.
They need
Help us
$2 million.
$2 million.
Free
But if
of
it gets
interest and strings.
$350K would also be fine.
Okay.
You just need anything
You just need more than 10.
More than 10 would be great.
Like 100 times.
Well, and that's
10.
the thing too. Everybody gave their heart and soul for it, and so there should be a reward. There should be the ability, especially for the costume designers. Like, she probably spent her own money on it.
Oh my God! Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She absolutely did. Yeah. And gave her time for free. All of it. All of these artisans gave so much of themselves for free that they should be able to earn back. And if the more that you give, the more greatness they can create. Because they can feed themselves, while they do it.
You can use that for your grant writing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe they'll give me a couple of dollars. This time.
No, so it would be great if you can help fund this kind of thing. No strings attached. It would be a great place to put your money. Anyone who's willing to.
I think they're making a new Goonies.
Donate.
Or no, a new. What is it?
Goonies Never Die. A new what?
They're making new, like, another of everything. Like,
well, let them do that.
That's what I'm saying. Allow some people to, like.
But you folks out there, folks out there who are willing to give, let's give some to these delightful folks who are making some amazing stuff from scratch. New stuff.
I mean, I always hear people complaining they're sick of remakes and reboots.
Here we go.
Like, I'm here making something that's original.
Original good stuff.
And screaming into the void.
Original good stories that are not content.
This suddenly turned into a telethon, I think.
Sorry. Yeah. It did. Whoops. John will be manning the phones for the rest of the day.
If you call in now, you'll get a free cup and a tote bag.
And a blender.
I'll throw in a t-shirt.
Angeline, thank you so much. You guys go to Tubi, see if you can pull it up. Watch The Coroner's Assistant. If you can't, I think you can see it on Apple TV, Prime, Google, right?
Yeah,
Google.
and then episode 1 on YouTube.
Episode 1 for free on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Go find it. The Coroner's Assistant. It's fantastic. Trust me. Thank you, Angeline, so much for being here.
Thank
it was
you so much.
delightful to talk to you.
Yes.
All the
Thank
best of luck to you. All right, we'll see you soon.